Public Works Director and City Council don't have to deal with another round of high bills. Her hope is that Public Works could not forward the council a bid as high as last year, and that the ordinance will remind Public Works of the cost of being complacent in seeking bids. Councilmember Rich Paul said the council needed to approve the ordinance to provide the oversight necessary to make sure Public Works follows through with securing more and better bids. Said Milton, this keeps the pressure on Public Works to make sure they're actively seeking lower bids so it's more fair to the people who miss shoveling their walks once.
A paratransit company that helps StarTran get people with disabilities around town will end its contract early following the city's decision to fully take over the service next year. Earlier this month, Transport Plus told city officials it would end the contract October 31st, 2 months before its expiration date. Dave Brewer of Transport Plus said it's a business decision meant to protect his employees, many of whom are seeking other jobs and finances. The city contract comprised 95% of Transport Plus revenue. Since 2015, Brower's company has given more than 100,000 rides to people unable to use city buses or without other means of transportation. People who use the program pay a fare of $3.50 per scheduled trip, or buy 20-day or monthly passes ranging from $16 to $66. In August, Mayor Lauren Gaylor Baird announced StarTran will expand its handy van program and eliminate the need for a contractor as the city became increasingly concerned about rising rates for Transport Plus. The decision prompted backlash at a August 26 budget hearing as Transport Plus clients and others expressed concern that the city couldn't sustain the quality of service and realize the $147,000 in annual budget savings staff had projected. At the time, Lincoln Transportation and Utilities Department Director Mickey Esposito said the city planned to honor the rest of the contract and credited Transportation Plus, which had not received any service complaints. City staff rejected the expanded handy van program would cost nearly $800,000 this fiscal year. Hiring 7 new drivers to accommodate the expansion would increase salary costs 312%, but the change eliminated the need for the $1 million annual contract. The city has advertised those new positions, and 4 reserve vehicles are ready for use in the paratransit program. The good news is we're fully staffed, Esposito told the Lincoln City Council at a briefing Monday. Bob?
Well, after a couple weeks of not having quite so many obituaries, we're kind of climbed up that ladder again, so we'll go ahead and switch over to the obituaries and funeral arrangements from the Omaha World Herald. Almgren, Richard D. Almgren, age 72, a veteran serving in Vietnam in the U.S. Army. Mass Christian burial Saturday, September 28th at 9 a.m. at the Holy Cross Catholic Church. Memorials are suggested to the Tangier Shrine or Josie Harper Hospice House. There will be military honors at the burial. Bink, Raymond Henry Bink, age 73. Funeral service 10 a.m. Friday, September 27 at St. Mark Lutheran Church on North 90th Street. Kermer Funeral Home on West Maple is handling the arrangements. Blackburn, Barbara Ann Blackburn. There is no age listed. Funeral service will be Friday, September 27 at 2 p.m. at the Spirit of Grace Lutheran Church in Holdridge, Nebraska. Nelson Bauer Funeral Home in Holdridge is handling those arrangements. Bradley, Sharon F. Bradley, age 58. Services will be Friday at 11 a.m. at Forest Lawn Funeral Home on Mormon Bridge Road. Catania, Frank C. Catania, that's C-A-T-A-N-I-A, age 76, a veteran serving in the U.S. Army. Mass of Christian burial Thursday, September 26th at 10 a.m. at St. Francis Cabrini Catholic Church. Memorials are suggested for masses. Heafy Hoffman Dvorak Cutler, West Center Chapel. Frock, Robert Evan Frock, age 59. A celebration of life will be held at the Omaha Police Union Hall on Crier Avenue from 4 to 7 p.m. on Friday, September 27th. Heafy Hoffman Dvorak Cutler, West Center Chapel. Garner, Virginia Lee Garner, age 79. Funeral Friday, September 27 at 11 a.m. at Good Shepherd Funeral Home on South 24th Street. Gleason, Richard P. Gleason, age 70. There will be a visitation Friday, September 27, starting at 10 a.m. with celebration of life immediately following at 11 a.m., both at West Lawn Hillcrest Funeral Home on West Center Street. Green, Hazel L. Green. There's no age listed. There is no funeral home listed. There is a viewing from 1 to 5:30 p.m. on Friday with a memorial at 1 p.m. at the Kingdom Hall of Jehovah's Witnesses at the Villa de Sante Drive in Omaha. This one I'm not sure of the pronunciation at all. I think it's Gwinnett, Philip A. Gwinnett Sr. That's spelled Guenette. He was a veteran from the Navy. Mass of Christian burial Friday, September 27 at 10 a.m. at Holy Cross Catholic Church on Woolworth Avenue. Memorials will be directed by the family. Heafy Hoffman Dvorak Cutler, West Center Road. And this one is Gaylord Scott Eugene Gaylord of Lincoln. Celebration of life will be in Tabor, Nebraska, Sunday, September 29 at 2 p.m. at the First Christian Church on New Street in Tabor, Iowa. Condolences. There are no listing of memorials. Lincoln Memorial Funeral Home on 14th Street in Lincoln is handling the arrangements. Hahn, Antoinette Tony Hahn, maiden name Aquazino, age 90. There will be a visitation Thursday, September 26th from 9:30 to 10:30 with the funeral immediately following at 10:30 a.m. at West Lawn Hillcrest Funeral Home on Center Street. Memorials are suggested to St. Jude's Children's Hospital and Lauritsen Gardens. She was 90 years old. Young, Marcia B. Young, age 66, that's spelled Junge. Celebration of life, 6:30 p.m. Thursday, September 26th at the Angel Loft of St. Joseph Tower on South 10th Street in Omaha. There is no funeral home listed. Kaiser, Gladys L. Kaiser, age 90. There will be a complete notice later. John A. Gentleman Mortuaries and Crematory on 72nd Street will be handling those arrangements. Langdon, Daniel J. Langdon, a veteran, age 84. Memorial service will be Friday, 11 a.m. at the John A. Gentleman Mortuary, Pacific Street Chapel. In lieu of flowers, memorials to Prairie Meadows Alzheimer's Special Care Center. Laughlin, Gwen Laughlin, maiden name Breeze, age 91. Memorial service Saturday, September 21 at 11 a.m. at the Raider Mortuary on 108th Street. Donations may be made to the Methodist Hospital Foundation, designated to volunteer services, or the Omaha Performing Arts, designated in memory of Gwen. Raider Mortuary, North 108th Street Chapel. Lewis, Thomas I. Lewis. There's no. He was 81 years old, or 82 years old, excuse me. And Mass of Christian burial Saturday, September 28th at 10 a.m. at Mary R. Queen Catholic Church, Heafy Hoffman Dvorak Cutler, West Center Chapel. Love, Don C. Dude Love, age 84. Funeral service is today at 10:30, so it's already ongoing at the Calvary Christian Church in Bellevue. Memorials may be made to the American Diabetes Association, John A. Gentleman Mortuaries and Crematory, Bellevue Chapel on Sampson Way. Markley, Jean Ann Markley, maiden name Doman, age 90, from Scottsdale, Arizona. Mass of Christian burial Friday, September 27 at 10:30 a.m. at St. Pius X Catholic Church on Blondo Street. Memorials may be made to Alzheimer's Alliance in Tyler, Texas. Heafy Hoffman, DeVore Cutler, West Center Chapel is handling the arrangements. Madhauser, Helen C. Madhauser, age 95. Funeral will be Friday, 9:30 a.m. at the Corisco Larkin Staskowitz Funeral Home on F Street. Mayor, William Bill Mayer, age 58, of Little Sioux, Iowa. Celebration of Life, 2 p.m. Friday, September 27, at the Hennessy Funeral Home in Missouri Valley, Iowa. McPeck, Vernon B. McPeck, nicknamed Sarge, a veteran, age 90. Family will receive friends. Well, that's already ongoing. That's already completed. Memorials will be directed by the family, Heafy Hoffman, DeVore Cutler, West Center Chapel. Here's another one I can't pronounce. I think it might be something like Mexige, Casino Mexige, age 85. That's spelled Mecseji. Celebration of Life will be Thursday, December 26th from 5 to 8 p.m. at the Carter Lake Community Presbyterian Church on North 9th Street in Carter Lake, Iowa. Maloney, Jesse S. Maloney, age 91, Mass of Christian burial Wednesday today at 10 a.m. That one's also pretty much completed. Heafy Hoffman, DeVore Cutler, West Center Chapel. Nusrallah, Robert J. Nusrallah, a veteran, age 92, that's spelled Nussrallah. Funeral Friday, September 27 at 11:30 a.m. at the West Center Chapel of Heafy Hoffman, DeVore Cutler. Memorials to Holy Cross School, Holy Cross Church, or Mercy High School. Paulson, Larry J. Paulson, age 65. Services Friday, September 27 at 11 a.m. at St. Andrew's United Methodist Church on Maple Street. Memorials will be directed by the family at a later date. Heafy Hoffman, DeVore Cutler, West Center Chapel. Peitz, Timothy John Tim Peitz, that's Peitz, age 64. Celebration of Life, Friday, September 27 at 10:30 a.m. at the Bellevue Christian Center on Harvell Drive in Bellevue. Heafy Hoffman, DeVore Cutler, West Center Chapel. Phipps, Benjamin H. Phipps, age 76, Mass of Christian burial Thursday, September 26 at 10 a.m. at St. Margaret Mary Catholic Church on Dodge Street. Memorials are suggested to the Mount Michael Benedictine High School. Heafy Hoffman, DeVore Cutler, West Center Chapel. Robertson, Thomas W. Robertson, nickname FH, age 69. There will be a complete notice later. John A. Gentleman Mortuaries in Bellevue is handling the arrangements. Stender, Linda K. Stender, maiden name Welty, age 75, from Battle Creek, Iowa. There will be a reception in her honor on Friday, September 27th from 3 to 5 p.m. in the community room at the Hoy Kilnosky Funeral Home and Crematory on North 16th Street in Council Bluffs. Stevens, Roberta A. Bobby Stevens, age 79. Mass of Christian burial Friday, 10 a.m. at St. Peter Catholic Church. In lieu of flowers, memorials requested to St. Peter Catholic Church, Corisco Larkin Staskowitz Funeral Home on F Street. Stroud, Philip L. Stroud, age 66. Memorial service Thursday, September 26 at 11 a.m. at the John A. Gentleman Mortuaries Bellevue Chapel. The family will direct memorials. Stewart, Barbara K. Bodka Stewart, age 95. Memorial service 7 p.m. Thursday with visitation from 5 to 7 prior to the service at the Reichmuth Funeral Home in Elkhorn. Memorials to the Nebraska Humane Society. Tibbles, Michael J. Mikey Joe Tibbles, age 51, of Norfolk. There will be private graveside services. Stokely Funeral Home in West Point, Nebraska is handling the arrangements. Verdirami, Rosemary A. Verdirami, that's Verdirame, age 65. Services and interment will be in New York. Memorials are suggested to Spirit Matters program for developmentally disabled adults at Rejoice Lutheran Church on South 138th Street here in Omaha. Efi Hoffman DeVore Cutler, West Center Chapel is handling the arrangements. Boy, there's been a lot today that I'm going to have trouble. I think this one is Veylupek, Darlene J. Veylupek, that's Veylupek, age 87. Christian funeral mass will be held Friday, September 27 at 10:30 a.m. at the St. Matthew Catholic Church. In lieu of flowers, the family has requested memorials to St. Matthew Catholic Church. Bethany Funeral Home, 82nd Harrison. Wheeler, George E. Wheeler, Colonel, U.S. Air Force, retired, age 91. Memorial service Tuesday, October 1 at the Bellevue Memorial Chapel of Efi Hoffman DeVore Cutler. There will be a more complete notice later. And my final listing is Williams. Robert M. Bob Williams, Master Sergeant, U.S. Air Force, retired, age 88. Master Christian burial Thursday, September 26, 10 a.m. at the Cape Heart Chapel. Military honors by Offutt Air Force Base Honor Guard. Memorials to Columban Fathers in or the Memory Support Unit at the Heritage at Legacy here in Omaha. The Bellevue Memorial Chapel of Efi Hoffman DeVore Cutler, West Center Chapel. Paul?
Turning now to the Lincoln Journal-Star's obituary pages. Blank, Phyllis Blank, age 65. Memorial service will be held at a later date. Roper and Sons Funeral Home is handling her affairs. Dan Kroger, Irma Dan Kroger, age 86. Memorial service will be held at 1 p.m. Thursday, September 26th at Roper and Sons South Lincoln Chapel. In lieu of flowers, memorial contributions may be directed in care of the family for the Lincoln Food Bank Backpack Program or Habitat for Humanity. DeBoer, Larry DeBoer, age 79, of Firth. Funeral will be at 11 a.m. Friday at Living Life Reformed Church in Firth. Memorials to Project Rescue, which is preventing sex trafficking. Boothras Mazer and Love Funeral Home in Lincoln is handling his affairs. Fisher, Jane Fisher, age 92. The funeral of Mass will be at 10 a.m. Tuesday, October 1st, at St. Teresa Catholic Church. In lieu of flowers, memorials to the Matt Talbot Kitchen and Outreach, St. Teresa Building Fund, or Catholic Social Services. Boothras Mazer and Love Funeral Home in Lincoln is handling her affairs. Gaylord, Scott Gaylord, age 54. A celebration of life will be on Saturday, September 28th at 10 a.m. at New Covenant Community Church. Celebration of Life Sunday, September 29th at 2 p.m. at First Christian Church in Tabor, Iowa. Lincoln Memorial Funeral Home is assisting. Holstrom, Morgan Holstrom, age 30. Celebration of Life will be at 2 p.m. Friday, September 27th at Lutheran Memorial Church in Syracuse. Memorials in lieu of flowers will be designated to honor Morgan's work. Fusselman Allen Harvey Funeral Home in Syracuse is handling the affairs. Klepper, Kyle Klepper, age 15, of Pawnee City. Arrangements are pending. Kratz, Dean Kratz, age 95. A memorial service to celebrate Dean's life is planned for Monday, September 30th at Countryside Community Church in Omaha at 4 p.m. Creamer Funeral Home is handling his affairs. Kropp. Nancy Kropp, age 85, of Eagle. A celebration of life was held today, Wednesday, at Boothus Mazer and Love Funeral Home, and that will be at 1 p.m. Memorials are suggested to the family for future designation. Lurz. Joanne Lurz, L-I-E-R-Z, age 75. A Mass of Christian burial will be on Friday, September 27th at 10 a.m. at St. Peter Catholic Church. Memorials to the Kyle Vermas Scholarship at Pius X High School, care of Pius X Foundation and Project Purple. Boothurst Mazer and Love Funeral Home will be handling the arrangements. Logan. Marilyn and Franklin Logan, age 95 and 91. A memorial service for Frank and Marilyn will be held at 3 p.m. September 29th at Wyuka Funeral Home. Memorials are suggested to Outlook, Nebraska, or the Wyuka Historical Foundation. Michael. Darlene Michael, age 89. Services will be held at the Lincoln Memorial on Friday, September 27th at 10 a.m. in lieu of flowers. Memorials to the Parkinson Foundation. Lincoln Memorial Funeral Home is handling her arrangements. Moon. Barbara Moon, age 76. A private committal service will be held at Wyuka Cemetery. Memorials are suggested to the Nebraska Wildlife Federation. Funeral arrangements are entrusted to Boothurst Mazer and Love Funeral Home. Nelson. Darlene Nelson, age 92, of Seward. Funeral service will be at 10:30 on Friday, September 27th at Zapka Purdue Funeral Home in Seward. Memorials to the Emmanuel Lutheran Church. Richards. Helen Richards, age 85. Memorial service will be at 10 a.m. on Saturday at Lincoln Memorial Funeral Home in lieu of flowers and donations to the American Diabetes Association. Selhoff. Daniel Selhoff, age 50. Celebration of life will be from noon to 5 p.m. on Sunday at the VFW 3340 West A Street in Lincoln. Memorials may be given to any Link 1 location in Dan's name. Lincoln Memorial Funeral Home is handling the arrangements. Telecki. Dennis Telecki, age 82. Funeral services are scheduled for tomorrow, September 26th at St. Peter's Catholic Church at 10 a.m. Memorials may be directed to the family for later designation. Boothurst Mazer and Love Funeral Home are in charge of the arrangements. Tidball. Jean Tidball, age 72. A celebration of life service will be held at 11 a.m. Friday, October 11th at Roper and Sons, South Lincoln Chapel. Memorial contributions may be directed toward the family for future designation. And finally, Weebell, Barbara Weebell, age 74. Funeral services will be Friday, September 27th at 3 p.m. at the Lincoln Memorial Funeral Home. Listeners' memorials to the Radio Talking Book Network are tax deductible and go a long way in keeping Radio Talking Book on the air. Please keep Radio Talking Book in mind when memorials are listed as Donor's Choice or your favorite charity. Donations should be sent to Radio Talking Book Network, 7101 Newport Avenue, Suite 205, Omaha, Nebraska, 68152. Thank you for being a Radio Talking Book listener and supporter.
Thank you very much, Paul Murphy. This is the Radio Talking Book Network. 45 years. Radio Talking Book is brought to you with cooperation of KIOS FM Omaha and statewide through the facilities of NET Radio and Television. I thank all of you for being loyal Radio Talking Book listeners and supporters. All right, guys. Here's what we do every day at this time. We have a mid-morning break. On weekends, Michael Halula reads the weather, but during the week we do a PSA with senior lunch menus for Meals on Wheels and a couple other PSAs. So here they come. We'll be back in just a few moments.
Good morning. It is Wednesday, September 25th. You know what that means? It's Happy Hump Day. Your Meals on Wheels menu today is taco meat, seasoned potato wedges, refried beans, cheese, tomato, and lettuce, 8-inch flour tortilla, taco sauce, and diet strawberry jello cake, and 1% milk. Love, laugh, and live the life you want. If you're interested in attending the National Federation of the Blind Conference in Nebraska, which is coming up Thursday, October 10th through Sunday, October 13th, at the Columbus Rivers Edge Conference Center in Columbus, Nebraska. For more information, please call our very own Ryan O. at the Radio Talking Book Service office. The number is 402-572-3003. Ryan has all the information you need, and there is a huge benefit this year. Transportation is free on the bus trip to Columbus. So again, that date is Thursday, October 10th through Sunday, October 13th in Columbus, Nebraska. The deadline to register is coming up September 25th, so please give Ryan O a call at 402-572-3003 if you would like more information to register for the NFB conference in Nebraska. Greetings from Radio Talking Book Service. This is Jane Nielsen, Executive Director. Did you know that RTBS has new options for you to listen to the RTB network? We have 2 new types of radios, one that uses the internet or Wi-Fi, and one that picks up the free over-the-air NET signal, similar to the FM signal used in the majority of our radios. If you are experiencing a great deal of static on your FM radio from RTBS, please call the office and we will get you one of the new radios. Our number at the office is 402-572-3003. Please call Monday through Friday between 8 and 5 p.m. Also, if you have a smartphone or a tablet, you can listen anytime on the phone app, TuneIn, or Sero, S-E-R-O, which used to be iBlink. If you have a laptop or a personal computer, you can listen live on our website. Just type in www.rtbs.org. Type that into your browser or Google it and follow the prompts to listen live.
Hot out there.
The third way you can listen
Like how hot?
to RTBN
In the 90s.
is over your
Oh, wow.
telephone through Audio Now. From your landline
80s,
or your cell
90s,
phone,
90s, but then it's supposed to cool down the weekend of the wedding. As of right now,
527-3993.
What
And you will hear
70s.
Radio Talking Book
okay.
Network.
Sunny and 70s, that would be like just absolutely perfect.
Now, a free long distance package. So if yours does not, please know that long distance charges do apply to that
I
number.
got my Indian
Again,
suit,
the office number for Radio Talking Book Service
and I couldn't even
is
get clothes.
402
Oh, really?
Like this much too narrow. The pants fit fine, the shoes fit fine. Coat, and my son's coat came, he could get it buttoned, but he couldn't breathe. But mine, I couldn't even get buttoned. And we looked at the measurements we sent them, and they were all like,
Thank
they
you
were
very
right.
much, Jane Nielsen. By the way, speaking of KIOS,
So now we're scrambling to have a local tailor.
Right now, we're having
Try
difficulty
to,
with the
hopefully
audio
there's
signal
enough fabric there,
on
because you've
the
got to let it out about 3 inches.
Uh-huh.
So,
How long did it
Last
take them to
Thursday, when we
make
had
it?
all those bad storms.
well, it was made over in India and then
Yeah.
shipped over here, and I think it only took them a couple of weeks to get it done. I mean, they fired the first company they were working with because
Cost of damage.
they weren't getting anything done right. So my son found this other person actually in Washington DC and was using her, and he was pretty happy with this guy. The code is gorgeous.
So
Oh,
we
good,
apologize, we are
But-
aware of the problem, and we have our.
Seen
Working
you know,
on it, they are aware.
on occasions, you know, that outfit, and
More
it is
positive
pretty
news
stylish.
for you tomorrow
Pretty heavy
about the
too.
same time. Let's go back to Studio A now.
Oh, here we go.
The Lincoln Journal Star, the Omaha World Herald, coming back to the microphones once again is Bob Godding and Paul Murphy. Go ahead, gentlemen.
Well, thank you very much, Ryan. It's 11:06. We're going to turn to the editorial page, and we'll be reading from the Lincoln Journal Star. This article is written by John Crisp, and it's entitled "Constitution Still Serves Us Well." The current issue of Harper's Magazine features an eye-catching cover that asks this provocative question: do we need the Constitution? Harper's convened a panel of 5 lawmakers and scholars to discuss how much sense it makes to use a 230-year-old document written by rich white male slaveholders to govern a diverse, complex, technology advanced 21st century country like ours. One panelist questioned whether we need a constitution at all. New Zealand doesn't have one, he said, and it seems to be doing fine. Another supports the Constitution but suggests that it's currently not producing a democracy that is responsive to the people. His solution is a constitutional convention to remedy the anarchism that the founders could not have foreseen. But the best course lies somewhere between the drastic alternative of no constitution and a dangerous constitutional convention, which in our country's current mood would be a divisive convocation fraught with bad ideas and unintended consequences. Better to take the middle road and work with the Constitution that we have, even if, for example, the benefits of the brilliant First Amendment have to be balanced against the troublesome ambiguities of the Second. Well, anyway, I butchered that word up enough. In fact, sometimes the Constitution's anarchism would serve us well if we paid more attention to them. The current dangerous situation with Iran provides a practical example. We are on the point of war with Iran. Thoughtful experts agree that such a war would be disastrous. President Donald Trump sees it differently. Last Friday, he was casual about the prospect of war, suggesting that our powerful military could easily overwhelm Iran. He bragged that if he chose, he could retaliate against Iran at any time for its alleged attacks on Saudi oil facilities. He implied that the decision is his to make. He said that an attack on Iran would be easy. You don't have to be much of an expert on warfare or the Middle East to see that this is terribly mistaken. This is not what the founders had in mind. They did not intend for the power to make war to reside in the hands of one man. Thus, the Constitution, Article 1, Section 8, awards the power to declare war solely to Congress. But the last time Congress passed this power was in 1942. Certainly things move much more quickly now than in 1789. Fleets took weeks to cross oceans that modern missiles can cross in minutes. These days, we sometimes need military action more quickly than Congress can provide. Thus, since World War II, Congress and presidents have reached various accommodations that have presided considerable war-making powers to the executive branch. Sometimes this power is essential. More often than not, though, things have not turned out well. And there's no reason to think that a war with Iran would turn out any better than our ill-considered war with Iraq. Do we need the Constitution? Yes, now more than ever, but we need to actually use it. In the case of Iran, Congress, Democrats and Republicans, must insist on its rarely exercised right to declare war, or not declare it. The basic principle that one man should be allowed to take the nation to war is fundamentally in the Constitution, foundationally in the Constitution and the intent of the founders. Bob?
This is an editorial from the Omaha World Herald editorial board entitled Nursing Shortage, Innovations to Meet Demand. Nebraska's demand for nursing care is robust and will continue to grow in coming decades as health needs increase for senior age residents. The state's population aged 65 and older is projected to increase from 246,000 in 2010 to 418,000 by 2030. The share of the state's population in that age bracket is projected to rise from 21% by 2050, up from 13.8% in 2012. The supply of nurses falls shortly of the need in Nebraska as well as nationally. Nebraska currently is short by about 4,062 nurses statewide, the World Herald's Julie Anderson reports, with the shortfall expected to grow by 33% by 2025. Nursing schools in Nebraska have been energetic in increasing their programs to meet demand. The number of registered nurse graduates grew 49% from 2002 to 2018 to 1,247. Creighton University's nursing program, for example, has seen an increase of about 35% over the past 3 years, Anderson reports. The University of Nebraska Medical Center, whose nursing programs have 5 locations across the state, is seeing an increase, as is the Bryan College of Health Sciences in Lincoln. Clarkson College has also seen increases, especially in its graduate nursing programs, for a variety of specializations as advanced practice registered nurses. Nebraska hospitals have embraced innovative ideas to bolster recruitment and manage often challenging staffing needs. Examples include the use of non-traditional shifts, bolstering staff training by pairing nurses of varying experience levels or differing specialties, and recruiting nurses from abroad. The professionalism of Nebraska hospitals in addressing these needs is impressive. So is the vision of Nebraska nursing programs in expanding instructional demand. Such forward-looking efforts are vital in ensuring the best medical care possible for Nebraskans. Paul?
This article by the Journal Star editorial board. Last month's closure of the Girls Youth Rehabilitation and Treatment Center in Geneva once again puts Nebraska's child welfare system in the spotlight. On the heels of that ongoing story, however, an annual report detailing children under the state's care, whether in the child welfare or juvenile justice system or a state licensed facility, provides a bigger picture. And that broader perspective came this year with a sense of uneasiness, to borrow the word used in the headline of the Journal Star's report on this document. Nebraska's most vulnerable youth need a system that ensures their safety and well-being at critical times during their developmental years. Though the number of critical incident reports will never fall to zero, the number of traumatic events reported, such as sexual assault and suicide attempts, remains largely unchanged. Inspector General Julie Rogers investigated the deaths of 4 children connected to the system between July 1st, 2018 and June 30th of this year. In addition to 52 suicide attempts, flat from the prior year, and 41 allegations of sexual abuse, 4 fewer, even though Nebraska has fewer state wards. These troubling trends come at a time when the state has awarded the contract for child welfare services in Douglas and Sarpy counties to the lowest bidder, which proposed cutting the number of case managers in the area responsible for 40% of Nebraska's caseload and proposed eliminating most child welfare regulations. Doing things efficiently is laudable for government, but child welfare is one of those areas in which the state mustn't skimp, given the importance of the work on its future. To best support the children under the state's care, those working in this vital field must receive adequate support as well. High levels of employee churn and burnout at play for challenging jobs in Geneva and elsewhere within the Nebraska Department of Health and Human Services ultimately trickle down to the children in the system. To that end, DHHS decision not to accept Rogers' recommendations to more fully expand trauma-informed support, assistance to those who suffer secondary trauma from working with families in crisis, beyond must frontline workers and supervisors seems like a missed opportunity. Created in 2012 by the Nebraska legislature as part of a package of reforms following a chaotic attempt at privatization and major problems within a dysfunctional system that is difficult to navigate. The Office of Inspector General for Child Welfare aims to address problems and identify improvements. DHHS has made several important fixes in years past, and Rogers' office will no doubt offer more suggestions in the years to come. But the state's child welfare system, ranging from the teens in Geneva to the infants in Child Protective Services, requires plenty of work moving forward. Bob?
These are letters to the Omaha Public Pulse, and Ben Salazar of Omaha writes, as a resident of South Omaha and a colleague of City Council member Vinnie Palermo, I must respond to the World Herald editorial opining that we, the public, will rightly scrutinize his judgment and suitability for office. This opinion being arrived at in light of the news that Palermo pleaded guilty to willful failure to file income taxes for three consecutive years. In my view, it was not a particularly tough opinion to conclude. Every public official must be held to the same standard of conduct and suitability for office. There must be literally hundreds of thousands of citizens and workers who find themselves late or even fail to comply with the timely reporting of their federal income taxes. But in Palermo's situation, I find it somewhat odd that what appears to have been an audit of some kind by the Internal Revenue Service took a significant leap to the actual filing of criminal charges against him. Why would charges be filed when thousands of other taxpayers appear to be able to work out something other than a plea to misdemeanor charges? I stand with Palermo as a friend and supporter. I believe that he can continue to be a robust and productive representative for South Omaha whom we can trust and work with. I must remind those who are quick to condemn him to take heed of John 8:7. Let any one of you who is without sin be the first to throw a stone at her. Danielle Jensen, Omaha Communications Director for Representative Don Bacon, writes, Marion Fellion's public letter, pulse letter, repeats a lie that has been perpetrated by Representative Don Bacon's Democratic opponents. He does not want to hold children at the border or separate families. In fact, he has said the complete opposite and wants to keep families together and speed up asylum hearings so that cases don't take half a year or longer to be settled. Since 90% of overall asylum seekers are not found credible, releasing families before their hearing is a mistake, and a large number of asylum seekers do not return for their hearings. Bacon has always advocated for families to stay together and for expedited hearings, and he has supported a legislative solution to the DACA and temporary protected status programs. He also knows that strong border security and honoring the rule of law are requirements as we seek a comprehensive solutions. To say he pushes for anything else is blatantly false. And, well, I think we'll call that done.
So much for editorializing. We'll now move on, since 11:20, to today's living and entertainment. The sight of the first locally grown apples gladdens our heart and sets our mouths to watering. At last, we can get back to our apple-a-day routine with the hard, crunchy, slightly tart Jonathan's from Nebraska City. Perfectly sized for tucking into a lunch sack or a backpack, chock full of fiber and nutrients, apples out of hand are just about perfect. And the increasing numbers of heirloom variety from which to choose means you could have a different apple a day for a week that actually tastes like something. No offense, Red Delicious, but as delightful as they are, just as they are, apples are also the base for all manners of wonders, both baked and cooked. This season, we'll be falling off our dietary bandwagon to try a buttery cake loaded with apples and cinnamon our friends James and Everett recommend. They note, topped with a sugary glaze, this amazing loaf tastes just like a classic favorite apple fritter. Oh God, that sounds so good. Walnuts or pecans added to the batter could add another texture and maybe a few healthy fats to counteract the butter. So we'll try that to justify our indulgence. This will keep for several days, assuming it's not immediately inhaled, but keep it loosely wrapped or the moisture from the apples will turn the loaf soft. Bob?
Jonathan's are my favorite. I have a tree that I planted, and I got 2 the first year, or the second year, 3 the third. This year I got 9 apples.
You're
So I'm on a roll.
Yeah.
They are delicious. This is the Amy Dickinson Ask Amy column. Dear Amy, 2 friends from college and I have decided to take a girls' trip with just the 3 of us away from our kids. We haven't seen each other in years and are going to spend a weekend in another city relaxing and catching up. My friend's husband offered to reserve the hotel room for us on the points he has accumulated traveling for work. What a generous offer. Now that the room is booked, that same friend has told us to buy her meals and a spa treatment in return for the points that are being used for this room. Her husband offered, but now there is a bill coming. I would rather have just paid for my share of the room. Do I have to buy my friend those meals and spa treatments? Wondering what I owe. Dear Wondering, if this demand was delivered to you in a way you describe, your friend is kicking off your girl's weekend like a sorority girl engaged in her own little hazing campaign. I agree with you that her demand is hard to take. Yes, you and your other friend should treat her to a meal and or spa treatment in gratitude for the generosity, but ideally this payback would have been your gracious gesture, not responding to her demand. If her husband received these points while on business travel, he didn't pay for the hotel room in the first place. His company did. Your friend would actually be profiting off her husband's company, which is unethical. In essence, she would be selling or bartering his points, which according to my research is also against IRS rules. You could take a look at the total retail cost of the room for the weekend and offer your friend either cash for 1/3 of the cost or pick up the cost for 1 or more meals and or spa, whichever amount is less. And yes, I think you should also tell her that if you had known what a hard bargain she would drive, you would rather have just split the cost of the room and gotten the reward points yourself. Dear Amy, my husband and I are moving across the country to start a new life in the Canadian Rockies. We are ditching our corporate lives for something more active, social, and fun. I like my given name, but it's common and I'd always hoped I'd earn a nickname along my life's travels, but alas, I never did. So now, with this move, I'm considering creating a nickname for myself. I'd like it to be something fun and based on my initials. My husband told me that it would be an affectation, so I looked up the word affectation and read behavior, speech, or writing that is artificial and designed to impress. So he thinks I'm being fake and looking to impress people. Maybe I am. What do you think? Bored with Michelle. Dear Bored, I agree that your name change would be an affectation, but who cares? This is kind of affectation most people can get behind because it has to do with you, your identity, your personal freedom, and right to identify as you wish. I think that you should go for it. Own this new start and embrace it with a bit of identity makeover. You may find this name change presents a challenge, especially if your husband decides to undermine you along the way. I suggest you be open when meeting new people. Well, my whole life I've been Michelle, but I'm thinking of asking people to call me Mad Dog or Mikey or Mary or whatever name you choose. Want to help me make a new name stick? This might be a good icebreaker in your new home. Dear Amy, I was very concerned by your flippant answer to living in the future, whose husband was using their smart home technology to monitor her movements at home throughout the day. Amy, this is stalking. This is control. I found this man's behavior quite alarming and felt you didn't take the risk of this seriously enough. Signed, Upset. Dear Upset, I agree with you. This husband's monitoring and level of control over his wife while he is at work are alarming. Instead of urging her to find a place outside to do her own work, I should have told her to unplug the minute her husband leaves the house. She should also dispassionately evaluate this relationship. Paul?
All right. This article is started out with Take the Cake. It's got 4 cakes, and the first one is Candy Bar. This cake is pure convenience store quiche. Fluffy white cake gets poked and drizzled with butterscotch sauce. then covered in whipped cream and sprinkled with chopped Butterfinger or chocolate-covered toffee candy bars. The second, and they have pictures of these, by the way, is chocolate. This chocolate cake is the type you'll keep coming back to, cutting off squares here and there until you've eaten half the cake yourself over a couple of days. The third is Pink Birthday. Inspired by the birthday cake my grandmother made me every year, this is from scratch version of box cake and frosting that is just as easy as the store-bought version. And finally, Lemon Buttermilk. This cake, inspired by the great baker Maida Heder recipe, gets hits of lemon 3 times, zest and juice in the cake, a clear soaking syrup that seeps into the cake, and finally a creamy thick glaze that coats the top. So these are the only 4 cakes you'll ever need for entertaining. Someone asks you to bring a dessert to a block party, birthday, or barbecue, or you're heading out of town for a weekend getaway, or you just need something to keep all the kids happy on a Saturday night. There's really only one answer, and it's a thing everyone wants to eat: sheet cake. Think of these as cakes that are as easy to make as a box mix, but exponentially better tasting. They are served in their pans and get iced only on the top. No pesky edges to deal with. Present them with candles for the big blowout, then set them on a card table for people to devour. There's no one setting for these cakes, but they're always there when you need them. And then they go on with the recipes. So if you want the 4 most entertaining cakes, there you are. Bob?
Well, we got time for one Heloise one. Dear Heloise, we decided to have a party for all of our friends and family to announce that we got married. We eloped in Las Vegas. The problem is I don't know how to plan for a nice party for about 50 people. Got any hints for me? Signed, Laura T. of Aspen, Colorado. Dear Laura, do as much as possible ahead of time and start making lists. If you need help, ask a friend to pitch in or hire a person to mingle among the guests, refilling drinks and making sure the food table is always clean and well stocked. Next, plan your meal. Make a list of everything you intend to serve and post it on the refrigerator door. Make sure you have enough bowls and serving trays. Do you need to rent additional seating or extra tables? You can have a deli, grocery store, or catering company make up platters for you. A cheese tray, fruit tray, meat tray, etc. is always nice and can save you a lot of time. Relax and have fun. Paul?
Oh, we can't relax yet, you're right? Okay. All right, it's 11:30. Boy, this time is just rolling so fast. And it's time to get to the business page. This out of Washington. The Trump administration has issued a rule that will make overtime pay available to 1.3 million additional workers, though the proposal replaces a more generous one advanced by former President Barack Obama. The Labor Department said Tuesday that it is raising the salary level that companies will have to pay to exempt workers from overtime to $35,568 a year, up from $23,660. Americans earning less than that amount will typically be paid time and a half for any work over 40 hours a week. The new rule will benefit retail, fast food, restaurant, and home health care workers, as well as other lower paid workers. Many employees in those industries have been paid just above the $23,660 threshold, which has been in place since 2004, and then required to work overtime without extra pay. Many workers' rights groups and left-of-center economists criticized the move, however, for covering far fewer workers than an earlier proposal issued by the Obama administration in 2015. Under Obama, the Labor Department proposed raising the threshold to more than $47,000, which would have made nearly 5 million more workers eligible for overtime. That rule, however, was struck down in court after being challenged by states and business groups. Christine Owens, Executive Director of the National Employment Law Project, also criticized the new rule for not including a provision to regularly increase the threshold. Obama's proposal would have indexed the level to wage growth and adjusted it every 3 years. The Trump Labor Department's rule says that if you make more than $35,568 a year, you're a highly paid executive, administrator, or professional that doesn't need overtime pay, Owens said. In the 1970s, more than 60% of workers were eligible for overtime pay, said Heidi Sherholtz, an economist at the left-leaning Economic Policy Institute. That figure fell to just 7% in 2016. The threshold hasn't been increased since 2004. The U.S. Chamber of Commerce praised the rule, arguing that it provides more flexibility for employers in managing their staffs. The new overtime salary threshold is a balanced and responsible update to the standard that has been in place for 15 years, said Mark Friedman, Vice President of Workplace Policy at the Chamber. Bob?
In business news streets, to comply with new federal guidance, Delta Airlines is discontinuing a ban on emotional support animals on flights longer than 8 hours. However, the airline is not changing its ban on pit bulls as service animals, even though U.S. transportation officials say such a ban on a breed is not allowed. Delta put in place the ban on pit bulls as service or support animals in 2018 after 2 employees were bitten by a passenger's emotional support dog. German prosecutors said Tuesday they have charged Volkswagen's current chief executive and chairman, as well as its former CEO, with market manipulation in connection with the diesel emission scandal that erupted in 2015. The 3 are accused of improperly influencing the company's share price. U.S. home prices rose in July from a year earlier by the smallest amount in 7 years, as modest sales are forcing sellers to keep costs in check. The S&P CoreLogic Case Shiller 20 City Home Price Index moved up 2% in July from a year ago, down from 2.2% annual gain in June. Several hot housing markets have cooled this year. And the U.S. Environmental Protection Agency warned California on Tuesday that it could lose highway funds if it doesn't clean up its air. The EPA described the state's air quality as the worst in the country. The move by the EPA is the latest battle the Trump administration has picked with California over environmental policy. Paul?
At 76, Ann Doan is still stocking shelves in a Wegmans here, leaning to fill a display with hairbrushes as Don Henley's Boys of Summer plays over the store's sound system. I never saved throughout my life, so therefore I have to do this, Doan said. And because I like it. I want to get out of the house, I want to talk to people, I need the money. More U.S. workers are working after turning 65, both out of financial necessity and to stay busy, a trend the U.S. Bureau of Labor Statistics sees increasing over the next 10 years. The Bureau projects the share of seniors working or actively looking for jobs to rise from 19.6% in 2018 to 23.3% in 2028, nearly double the rate of 1998 when it was less than 12%. More than 165,000 seniors are working in grocery stores, earning an average of about $31,000 a year. After half of the more than 9 million workers 65 and older are in retail, healthcare, business services, or education, according to the Bureau of Labor Statistics data and a state-line analyst of current population survey microdata. Some of the highest paying jobs for seniors are in college and universities, where the average salary for the age group is more than $93,000 a year, and in charity and advocacy groups where the average for the age group is more than $107,000 a year. It may be a shock for people to find that they can't get by on Social Security alone, especially for those who claim their benefits before they turn 70. Social Security currently maxes out at $2,209 a month for those who file at 62 and $3,770 for those who file at 70. It's particularly tough when the cost of living is high in areas such as Ashburn in Lombard County, a fast-growing Washington, D.C. suburb where more than a quarter of the people 65 and older hold jobs, according to recent census data. Working by older age groups bottomed out in the mid-1990s when Social Security was more generous and defined benefit pensions were more common, said Brian Ashcliffe, an economist at the W.E. Upjohn Institute for Employment Research in Michigan. Growth in the number of older workers since then has been slower than expected, he said. Bob?
The Chinese government has given new waivers to several domestic companies to buy U.S. soybeans without being subject to retaliatory tariffs, according to people familiar with the situation. The companies received waivers for between 2 million and 3 million tons, said the people, who asked not to be identified as the information is private. Some firms already bought at least 20 cargoes, or about 1.2 million tons, from the United States Pacific Northwest on Monday, the people said. The waivers follow a meeting between working-level officials last week in the United States and before top negotiators meet next month to try to resolve the trade dispute. China's commitment to buy more U.S. agricultural products is central to the talks, with President Donald Trump looking to shore up support from American farmers. Investors have been watching for signs of whether China will boost U.S. farm imports, viewing the purchases as a proxy for the outlook on trade talks. Global financial markets were roiled in the past 2 days after a Chinese delegation's visit to farms in Nebraska and Montana was called off at the request of the U.S. Iowa and Nebraska rank in the top 5 U.S. states in soybean production. The change in schedule has nothing to do with trade talks, China Vice Agricultural Minister Han Yun was quoted as saying in a China Business News report. China is willing to expand farm trade, and the two nations had sufficient and candid communication about agriculture in just finished ministerial level negotiations, the report said. Chinese Vice President Liu said he plans to visit Washington next month for trade talks.
Well, it's 11:39. We're going to switch over to the sports page. The defensive statistics for the Nebraska volleyball team took a hit last week after Stanford roughed up the Huskers with 58 kills on a .294 hitting percentage in the Cardinals' 4-set win against the Huskers. But Nebraska is once again one of the best defensive teams in the country. Nebraska's 140 average opponent hitting percentage ranks 6th nationally. In Nebraska's other match last week, the Huskers held Wichita State to a 0 hitting percentage. It's serving and defense that have helped fuel the Huskers' recent run of success. On the Nebraska Volleyball radio show on the Huskers Sports Network on Tuesday, NU coach John Cook explained the steps the Huskers take to try and slow down an opponent's great hitter. Cook used the analogy of a baseball team that shifts its defense to one side of the field and dares the hitter to attempt to hit the other direction. So what we try to do is take away their tendency, Cook said. So the first way we can do it is by serve. Can we serve it so it makes it hard for them to get the ball? The second thing is we block their best shot. So we try to get 4 hands in front of their best shot. The third thing is we've got to put our diggers where they hit the ball the most. Through practice and scouting reports, the players should have a good idea of what the opponent's hitters want to do. We do make adjustments during the match if somebody is changing it up, but we go in with a lot of data and knowing where they hit most of their balls, Cook said. we have all of these stat programs that we can look at, and that's what my got to change page here. Assistant coaches do is study that. So we try to get our diggers where the ball is hit the most. Nebraska's defense has had to be good this season because Nebraska's passing hasn't always been good enough to help the Huskers run a great offense. But with two freshmen doing a lot in serve receive, Cook knows that will take time to develop. Huskers' main offensive stats of kills per set, 12.97, and hitting percentage, 243, don't rank in the top 100 nationally. And then the value in defensive specialists. College volleyball teams are limited to 12 full scholarships, and some teams don't always use many or any scholarships on a libero or defensive specialist. Instead, they give the scholarships to the big hitters and then try to get walk-ons to play defense. But Cook sees value in making sure Nebraska recruits great defensive specialists. Nebraska has 2 defensive specialists on scholarship currently, with freshman libero Kinsey Knuckles and sophomore defensive specialist Megan Miller. We're looking for elite players, Cook said. If you look at the years we did well, we had 2 great defensive specialists, like Justine Wong Arantes, Mackenzie Maloney, Annika Albright, and Miller. That's what we want. But when Nebraska allocates 2 scholarships for defensive specialists, that means there's less margin for error in recruiting the other positions. Now, what that does is it's going to make you thin somewhere else, Cook said. You're either going to be thin at outside hitter or you're going to be thin at middle blocker. So you may only have 3 middle blockers or you may only have 3 or 4 outside hitters. That's the choice we make, but those liberos are really important. Unofficially, Nebraska's scholarship breakdown is 4 outside hitters, 2 right side hitters, 2 setters, 2 middle blockers, and 2 defensive specialists. Knuckles didn't play in Nebraska's last match due to an injury, but should be able to return for Friday's match at Illinois.
Well, anybody that's been following Husker football knows that our kicking game has got a little bit of work to be done on it. The parade of Nebraska football players up the steps, through the media, and over the ramp at the Hawks Championship Center after practice has become a routine check for who isn't in pads. Coach Scott Frost doesn't announce or acknowledge injuries, so the quick glance at players walking by is the only time to figure out what's really going on. And all season, Barrett Pickering has walked by in a jersey, no pads, no helmet, chatting it up with teammates. Recently, not far behind, has been fellow kicker Dylan Jorgensen in shorts and a t-shirt, walking among the assistant coaches and sweaty linemen. I'll be honest with you, special teams coordinator Jovan DeWitt said, it's a pain in the ass. Nebraska has made 18 to 20 extra points, last in the Big Ten as a team, and made 2 of 7 field goal attempts. That's 123rd in college football. And it probably isn't getting better anytime soon. Pickering's return is anyone's guess. Jorgensen's injury is a mystery. So Nebraska has been using Lane McCallum, the safety who transferred in from the Air Force. Also available is Isaac Armstrong, the punter who gave way to McCallum at kicker after seeing 2 attempts blocked against Northern Illinois. Matt Waldock is now an option too. He's the men's club soccer player Frost stole away and put in a Husker practice jersey. One of the main issues, DeWitt said, is the way special teams is run around the country now. Hardly ever do you have a punter who can double as a good place kicker, a punter who is a great kickoff specialist, or vice versa. The specialists have become even more specialized. Typically, there's 3 different guys, DeWitt said. So what we're doing now is having to cross-train a couple of guys. Sometimes there's consistency issues when that happens. So far for us, that's been a little bit of an issue. That's why Will Prystup, a punter by trade, struggled with kickoffs at Illinois. DeWitt said his approach was off. He's only done it so many times. and also why McCallum missed that 25-yard field goal that could have put NU up by 7 in the fourth quarter. Just a few weeks ago, he was taking practice snaps at safety. It takes a little bit of time. It's not just something that happens, DeWitt said. It's like if you're going to shoot a free throw. How do you get good at shooting free throws? By shooting free throws. And Nebraska's issue is trying to make shot putters free throw specialists. That takes time. DeWitt said some of the struggles were about roster management. When Drew Brown used up his eligibility in 2017, Nebraska brought in Pickering and had one spot for a freshman kicker in 2019. That was Jorgensen. Coaches felt good about that spot, especially since Pickering had made 10 straight field goals to end his freshman season. And all of a sudden, when that guy gets hurt, you got a problem, DeWitt said. So as you're rebuilding the roster, you got to make sure you take those things into account, which I thought we tried to do. But again, when you have multiple injuries at one spot, it's just like if your first string quarterback goes down and your second string quarterback goes down, those are problems. Nebraska is now in a position where, even in the red zone, it has to seriously consider going for it on fourth down rather than trying a field goal. Frost elected not to kick a 46-yarder in the first quarter against Illinois, and Nebraska was stopped and turned the ball over. NU later had a chance for a 25-yarder, and Frost went for it again on 4th and 2. This time, Dedrick Mills ran it for a first down, and NU scored 2 plays later. Pickering's career long is 47 yards, which he made in the snow against Michigan State last season. DeWitt said coaches have talked about going for 2 instead of kicking extra points, but there are multiple factors that go into that decision. Nebraska's gone for 2 just once this year against Illinois to make up for a blocked extra point earlier in the game. Martinez ran in for 2 after a broken play. What we got to do is manage where we're at and who is up this week and figure out where the wind is and what's the game situation, what's the score, how much time is left on the clock, DeWitt said. Analytics play a bit of a part in it in terms of where we need to be, in terms of what's the score, if we can go for 2, if we can go for 1, is it in 4 down territory? Now is it a 3 down territory? If anything, the kicking question makes Nebraska even more unpredictable, DeWitt quipped. Hopefully we're making people prepare a little more, he said, searching for a silver lining.
Well, as Nebraska prepares for the biggest game of its young season Saturday night in prime time against number 5 Ohio State, it is simultaneously preparing for its biggest recruiting weekend of the year. Certainly, the Huskers have had other significant sets of visitors in recent months, 7 official visitors in late June, around a summer barbecue, and 6 more 2 weeks ago at a night game against Northern Illinois. But this will easily be the largest group. The Huskers are expecting somewhere in the neighborhood of 11 official visitors if all goes as planned, 9 of whom the Journal-Star has confirmed. In addition, several key class of 2021 targets will be on hand unofficially. 2 weeks ago, NU had more than 50 total recruits on campus. This weekend will be even bigger than that. The anticipation has reached even those who are coming to campus to visit. I can't wait for this weekend. I know the atmosphere is going to be bananas, 4-star wide receiver Levon Buckley Shelton told the Journal-Star on Tuesday morning, while confirming he'll be on an official visit. And now we need to switch over pages. Buckley Shelton, listed at 6 foot and 180 pounds, plays from Chaparral Sierra High in Gardena, California. He's considered the number 57 overall player in the country and the number 9 wide receiver by Rivals, while 247 Sports pegs him at number 224 and number 38 respectively. He's got offers from more than 20 schools across the country, including Florida, Florida State, Michigan, Ohio State, Oregon, Texas, and TCU. And he's not the only highly regarded prospect making the trip. Minnesota outside linebacker Caden Johnson, number 115 from the 247 Sports, number 134 the Rivals. Alabama linebacker Jackson Bratton, number 161 from 247 Sports. California defensive back Darren Green Warren, number 191 from Rivals, number 227 from 247 Sports. And Husker verbal commit offensive tackle Turner Gorkin, number 42 on 247 Sports and number 55 from Rivals, all carry 4-star rating from both major recruiting services. In addition to that group of official visitors, the Huskers are set to host inside linebacker Rodney Gross, Pleasant Grove, Alabama, offensive lineman Chandler Durham from McNewell, Georgia, and athlete Ronald Delancey the third from Miami, who is currently verbally committed to Louisville. Oh, and don't forget about the Husker quarterback for the 2020 class, Logan Smothers, who is using his official visit and making the trip with Bratton, his teammate at Muscle Shoals, Alabama High, who is currently verbally pledged to Alabama. I think it is a great timing with all the official visitors we have coming in, Husker head coach Scott Frost said on Monday. Bob?
In Creighton basketball news, junior guard Tyshawn Alexander was already looking ahead to the next day when he sat down on the sideline moments after completing Creighton's first practice of the preseason Tuesday afternoon. On the whole, the 2-hour session felt productive, Alexander said, but he was having trouble shaking those inevitable moments of first-day awkwardness when a drill hit a snag or when coaches had to remind players to communicate or when guys tried too hard to make the perfect play. And Alexander gets it. He, like everyone else, wanted to make a good impression on day one. Maybe they wanted it too much. We just need to slow down, talk, and let the game come to us, Alexander said. The first day is over now. Make sure all the nervousness is out, and now it's time to get back to what we do. The regular season is 6 weeks away, but this CU team, which returns 6 of its top 7 scorers, certainly seems to understand that the year-to-year improvement it hopes to make isn't guaranteed. The Jays missed the NCAA tournament last season. They didn't find their defensive identity until February. They often lacked versatility within their offensive attack, and they made crucial mistakes at the end of games. Players envision themselves making a jump this winter, but they know corrections need to be made, and that's what preseason ball is for. They prefer to set a standard now. That'll be the goal when they return to the court on Wednesday. They've just got to bring the energy, and luckily we have another day, Wednesday, senior guard Davian Mintz said. We want to take advantage of every day. A few notes from Creighton's first practice. Assistant Preston Murphy, who remains on administrative leave, was not present for the practice on Tuesday. He's been away from the program since he was suspended in March after I gotta find where the article went. The federal indictment linked him to the college basketball bribery scandal. Steve Merfeld has taken an assistant coaching role for Creighton in Murphy's absence. CU officials have declined to comment on Murphy's status as the school presumably awaits a ruling from the NCAA's enforcement staff. The NCAA intends to investigate the basketball programs implicated in the scandal, according to multiple public statements by its top decision makers. North Carolina State received a notice of allegations in July. Kansas got its notice Monday. Sophomore center Jacob Epperson, who spent the summer rehabbing from knee and back surgeries, warmed up with the team and ran through the non-contact drills at the start of practice. He looked good, but coaches planned to take it slowly with Epperson, according to coach Greg McDermott. It was great to see him out there, McDermott said. He probably moved better than I anticipated for the 45 minutes or so that he was on the floor. Graduate transfer center Kelvin Jones and point guard Marcus Zagorowski who did not play during CU's Australian trip in August, were full participants in Tuesday's practice. Creighton will conduct a close scrimmage at Missouri on October 26th. Its lone exhibition is set for November 1 against Division II McKendree.
Lincoln Southeast was so close all night long. Every time Lincoln Southwest tried to pull away, the Knights kept it close. But Class A number 9 Southwest, 9-4, won Tuesday's volleyball match in 3 tight sets, 26-24, 27-25, 25-21. The first set was a back-and-forth affair with the biggest lead of the set, 3 points coming at 23-20 in Southwest's favor. Southeast had set point at 24-23, but an errant block tied things up before senior Kate Swan provided the set-winning kill for Southwest. The Knights, 10-8, relied on junior Brittany Wolf to get their offense going in the second set, with Wolf getting 3 kills in a row at one point. She finished the match with 15 kills, but her second set performance was undone by a series of Southeast errors. Southeast had another set point at 25-24, but a service error tied the set at 25-25. Then miscommunication resulted in the Knights being unable to get a clean dig, and Shailene Myers finished off the set for the Silverhawks on the next point. We were very timid at those points, and we were kind of playing not to lose, Lincoln Southeast coach Paige Huddle said. I don't think it's anything we did wrong, necessarily. It just came down to which side was more aggressive. The third set was more of the same for both teams, as Southeast took an early 3-point lead before it dissipated. The Knights' final attack sailed well wide to end the match. It stings when you get swept, but you know how close the game was because we were 1 point away from winning sets 1 and 2, Hubble said. The third was not Southwest's cleanest set either, as service errors and miscommunication on defense also hurt the Silverhawks at times. I talked to the girls about winning each point one at a time and having some purpose in playing good, controlled volleyball, Lincoln Southwest coach Mark Novotny said. We had moments of that, especially in set 3. We looked a little more comfortable. Lincoln Southeast has a week until its next match when the Knights go up against winless Grand Island on October 1st. Meanwhile, Lincoln Southwest will compete in Papillion La Vista's Weston Invitational this weekend, along with Kearney, Millard West, Omaha Burke, Papillion La Vista South, and Papillion La Vista. Bob?
Well, it's that time of day again when we're all done. This is Bob Gotting. It's been a pleasure reading for you today. Have a beautiful week.
And this has been Paul Murphy, reading articles from the Lincoln Journal-Star, wishing you a great and blessed day.
Okay.
Item 8.
All right, off we go to other things.
Yes, we do.
Being the landscaping crazy person I am, I can never let things stay, so I started moving stuff around. And I just got a notification from the Extension Office about a new invasive species to be on the lookout for called crazy worms. Crazy worms look sort of like a nightcrawler, but they don't get slimy. And if you unearth them, they flop around just like flip all over. You pick one up, it feels more like a snake skin. They're kind of rubbery. And so I'm moving some boulders yesterday, and I pulled one out, and this worm, I just finished reading the article like the day before, and I pulled this rock up, and here comes this worm just going crazy. And I went, oh my gosh, no. That was in my yard.
So what do they do, or what?
Well, they're voracious eaters, and basically worms feed on stuff that's organically, deteriorating. It's and they eat it all. So they're taking it away from other night crawlers, they're taking it out of the soil, they're
Gotcha.